Alright, so I'm going to show you guys a little bit of what I've accomplished this winter. I know I haven't been doing those vlog videos like I wanted. It was hard to do with a phone and have hours and hours and hours and hours of video. I didn't have like, I tried putting it all on my computer, but it was a pain in the ass and time consuming. And I just gave up with it after a while, but I'll show you guys what I've done. All the wiring is pretty much done. Today I finished up all the lights. The tail lights, turn signals, headlights, low beams, high beams, all that shit was kind of pain in the ass. Not really the headlights, but the tail lights specifically, and the turn signals. Inside the car I got some work lights and some green lights. So this is just the green lights on. I got more green lights to put on. I don't know where I want to put them yet, but I got all my gauges wired up. Everything's good to go now. I got the Kirky seat installed on the 1G rails. When I get my cage built, I might have them put the seat right on the ground, but in order to do that, they're gonna have to cut out part of the drive shaft tunnel because the seats are too wide to fit down in there all the way. So here's my switches for my lights. This is running lights, so my marker lights on the front are on. Tail lights are on. And then this is my low beam. And then right next to it's a high beam. Turn signal. In order to run a turn signal through a toggle switch, you still need a flasher, which is right here. I just got that at AutoZone. And a 3-position toggle switch. The backs was kind of confusing, but I don't remember how they are from the factory, but there's 3 lights in the tail lights, in each tail light. So this one I have, like all of them have, they all have turns, or the running lights, tail lights, to one of the filaments. And then the other filament, which is the brighter filament, this one goes to the turn signal. Then these outer 2 go to the brake lights. I don't think the outside ones work for the brake lights. I don't know if they're supposed to from the factory or not. I don't remember. But that's how I wired them up. So that way each bulb, at least for the turn signals, so the turn signals are on their own bulb basically. Because otherwise, if they were tied into the turn signals, when you hit the brake, the front running lights would probably come on because they'd be tied together. Bought a battery tray. I'm going to redo the top mount here. Either shorten it or get a bigger battery. I wanted to get the biggest one I possibly could fit in there because then I can run whatever size battery I want. Seat belts, they're mounted to the floor. Not the floor, the back seat area. A lot of guys do that. I don't really like it. As soon as I get the cage built, I'm gonna have them go right under the basically like the harness bar right behind the seats. This rear relay panel is for most of my chassis harness stuff. So you got low beams, high beams, running lights, brake lights, and turn signals. And then I have a few spare relays. I don't know what I'm going to use them for yet, but something. And then on the very end I have the fuel pump relay, since that's right back here anyway. So I put that on there. I didn't loom anything up yet because I just finished all the wiring. I didn't want to run any loom until all the wires were ran. Originally, when I did these taillights and all the wiring for the lights back here, I tried using the factory harness, like the factory taillight harness, to kind of simplify things, but from what I found in the wiring, it seemed like the turn signals and the brake lights were tied together. So for what I was trying to do, it wasn't going to work. So like I said, I don't remember how they are from the factory, but basically I have the turn signals and the brake lights separated, so that way everything works the way it's supposed to. Front relay panel, that's got all the engine stuff on it, and it's got my work lights and my green lights on that. Just got a new windshield today. If you guys remember, my windshield was busted from when the hood popped up because I didn't put the hood pins in. They just replaced that for me today. I had Safe Light up here, and they put a nice brand new windshield in. I'm stoked about the taillights. I even got a LED license plate light. I don't have the factory license plate lights. Most of the time the mounts get all rusted and nasty and shit, but I didn't have them in there anyway. When I originally built this thing, I took it out because it wasn't it kept like falling out and shit. So anyway, I got this little LED light on Amazon. Does the job. I had to move the kill switch up. Originally it was down here, but a couple weeks ago I was having some weird problems with my battery, and come to find out it was the kill switch, the wires for the kill switch. Right where they run through there's like a little hole inside the actual bumper. I had all my wiring running through that to get directly to the reverse light spot there, and some of the wires were like kinked and shit and touching the bumper, so I was having all kinds of problems. So I moved the kill switch up to the center taillight piece, which I should have done from the get-go, because in order to get to the kill switch wiring, I had to remove the bumper cover every time. That was a big pain in the ass. So now everything's right there. I can get to it very easily. It's a 4-post kill switch. The other little smaller post is, you can't see it, but it's underneath the bigger wires. I have my fuel pump power wire running to the smaller terminals on this kill switch. So when you turn the switch off, it also kills off all the power to the fuel pump. So I got 2 grounds, and then I also have a ground. I obviously have the one that goes to the bell housing, to the firewall, but I had another ground up here. Goes from here to the alternator, so the alternator is grounded. I've seen a lot of guys did that, and they had a lot of like a lot better voltage and everything. So I decided to do it while I was bored one day. I'm gonna loom up the engine bay first. I don't have any loom on the engine bay aside from like some of the lights and stuff. The wiring for the lights are ran, but like nothing else. The injectors, the mass airflow, everything doesn't have any loom on it yet. Again, I wanted to get all the wiring done before I started looming anything up, so that way I didn't have to do the same thing twice. And the door straps are in. What I did there is I had them hooked up originally, but I took the door panels back off, and I took a torch and I kind of twisted the rod onto the hook for the straps, so that way because originally they kept coming off. Windows, mounted the ECU underneath the shift cables. My boost controller knob right there. Tuning cable. I got a socket on Amazon. This switch panel came with the third socket there was actual cigarette lighter, and I took that out and I put this socket in there. It's basically like a remote mount for USB. So basically my tuning cable comes from my ECU, plugs into the back of that, and then another cable comes out the front. It's a lot cleaner. Instead of having a wire laying around underneath the dash and shit, I just unplug it or plug it in right there. Still didn't wire up my my fuel gauge yet. I'm not really sure how to do that yet. I haven't really looked up too much information on it. So I got to do that before I can loom up the harness, at least in the inside of the car. I don't think I'm gonna loom up the inside until the cage is in, though. I don't think any of it'll have to come out. They'll probably have to move it around and shit, but I figured I'd just wait. Trying to think. I mean, I've done so much since those last couple videos. I had probably 100 hours or more of footage between my phone and from when I was taking off my phone and putting it on my computer. But like I said, it was just too much work to go through all that shit. I kept having, every time I tried to put a video together, I wouldn't have enough space on my phone, so it was just a pain in the ass. Someday, if I get an actual, decent camera, then I'll do it. But I don't really know what I'm gonna do it on, because I don't plan on doing anything like this ever again, at least on this car, and probably not for a long time on any car. But this was a lot of fun. But I just wanted the car done as soon as possible, and it was so nice to be able to drive it again. And I slaved away like every chance I could. I was out in the garage all winter working on this thing, and I just kept thinking about how nice it'd be when it was done. And the first pull, the first time I took the car out, and every time I thought about that, anytime I thought about not working on the car just one day, I thought about driving the car. And obviously I couldn't drive the car until it was done, so that was enough motivation to not skip out and to get my ass out here in the garage and work on it all the time. But it was very expensive. I spent a lot of money on this shit. I just got some Fick 1450 injectors. I put them in yesterday. Got it tuned, kind of. I only did a couple pulls, but all the idle tuning is done. For the most part, wide open throttle is done. So now I should be able to max out my whole set. If not, I'll just get bigger injectors, but they should be big enough to get me where I want. I just want to crack 500 horsepower with this thing, and that's it. I don't want no more. Just 500. It's somewhat safe with the drivetrain. I just want to enjoy this thing, and I don't want to be changing transmissions 2-3 times a year just to have 5 pulls under my belt between transmissions. Like, 500 horsepower, and as light as this thing is gonna be, it'll be a lot of fun. So I filed for an antique plate, antique title, antique registration for cars that are 25 years or older the car is eligible. There's supposed to be some kind of driving restrictions, but everybody I talked to at PennDOT said pretty much as long as you're not daily driving it, they don't care. So the reason why I did that, though, a lot of people do it to save money on car insurance, but I'm not even going to change my insurance, because the insurance, when you start talking to the insurance about this shit, that's where the restrictions really come in, because they want to see your mileage, which obviously I don't have any way to show that anyway, but I did it to get around inspections. Now I don't have to get my car inspected. The title, or the plate and title and everything should be here within the next week or two. I still got my old plate on. So once I get the antique one in, I could start driving this thing a little bit more. And yeah, I just don't want to drive it because I don't have inspection, and it's not like a daily driver. It's not like, you know, if a cop sees me in this thing, they're gonna pull me over. But I was thinking about, you know, like how to get around it. There's got to be a way to get around inspections. I started thinking about the rat rods, and obviously the rat rods, they aren't inspected. Half their fucking body's missing, you know. So started looking into things, and I found the whole antique registration, and that was my little loophole or cop out. So it should be good to go now. And as long as I'm not daily driving it, and the cop doesn't see me every single day, it shouldn't be a problem. But anyway, just wanted to give you guys an update, show you guys what the car looked like now. This is exactly how I pictured this thing, like literally years ago when I originally built this thing. This is exactly what I wanted the interior to look like. So it's pretty cool to actually see that. Remember, like, I literally had an image in my head of how I wanted this thing to be years ago, and here it is. The green, the racing seat, the dash. Years ago, the relay panel isn't something that I never would have, you know, I never would have thought I was going to be able to do something like that. But it's really not that bad. It's just really, really, really time consuming. It's a lot of man hours. There's some of the wire that used to be in the car, not all of it. Some of it's in the house, but I think that's most of my engine harness and chassis harness. Hatch harness is probably in there. And that's a lot of weight, man, like especially this part. This is the part that went up under the dash. You know, that's a good, if I pick that up right now, probably a good 20 pounds. So yeah, the ECU wiring. I was going to redo my patch harness for the Evo 8 ECU, but I ended up just, I don't have any 1G plugs at all on this. I just wired up my harness directly to some 2G Evo style plugs. So it just made more sense because I don't plan on going to an EEPROM or anything. I'm pretty dedicated to this ECU. I love it. I mean, it's got a lot of problems sometimes. There's some issues, some things you can or can't do that I don't like, but I love the ECU. It's, I don't know, it's different. Everybody and their fucking brother runs DSM Link, so. But alright guys, thanks for watching. Hope you liked the car. I had a lot of fun doing this. Later guys.